The Second World War was a battle for every island on the world's largest ocean. It was the soldiers on the ground whose blood was shed in the struggle for victory. Their blood was shed on beaches as well as in the jungle. To commemorate those brave soldiers who fought in Papua and New Guinea, 3 war cemeteries were built in the country, and they are the Port Moresby BOMANA War Cemetery, the Lae War Cemetery, and the Rabaul Bitapaka War Cemetery. So in this video, we are going to talk about the Port Moresby BOMANA War Cemetery, a brief history of how it came to be and how important it is. Port Moresby BOMANA War Cemetery lies approximately 19 kilometers north of Port Moresby on the road to 9 Mile and is approached from the main road by a short side road called Pilgrim's Way. Back then in March 1942, after the Japanese landed at Lae and Salamaua, Port Moresby became their chief objective. Now, early in 1942 and almost without resistance, the Japanese established a considerable force and developed a useful base on Bougainville, the largest and most northerly of the Solomon Islands. This dared until Americans and Australians began offensive operations towards the end of 1943, when Bougainville was the only one of these islands remaining in Japanese hands. By August 1945, when the Japanese surrendered, most of the island has been recovered. Well, those who died in the fighting in Papua and Bougainville are buried in Port Moresby BOMANA War Cemetery. Their graves brought in by the Australian Army Grave Service from burial grounds in areas where the fighting had taken place. The unidentified soldiers of the United Kingdom forces were all from the Royal Artillery, captured by the Japanese at the fall of Singapore. They died in captivity and were buried on the island of Bailale in Solomon Islands. These men were later reburied in a temporary war cemetery at Torokina on Bougainville Island before being transferred to their permanent resting place at Port Moresby. Now, the cemetery contains 3,824 Commonwealth burials of the Second World War. 699 of them are classified as unidentified. There is also one non-war burial and one Dutch foreign national burial here. Over 600 Indian soldiers who fought in the Second World War are also buried here at the cemetery. So basically, this war cemetery contains the remains of soldiers from Australia, India, New Zealand and other Commonwealth nations. The cemetery was designed by Mr. A.G. Robertson and was unveiled by the Governor-General of Australia, Field Marshal Slim, on 19 October 1953. The Port Moresby Memorial stands behind the cemetery and commemorates almost 750 men of the Australian Army, including Papua and New Guinea local forces, the Australian Merchant Navy and the Royal Australian Air Force who lost their lives in the operation in Papua and have no known graves. Men of the Royal Australian Navy who died in the Southwest Pacific region and have no known graves but the sea are commemorated on the Plymouth Naval Memorial in England, along with many of their comrades of the Royal Navy and other Commonwealth naval forces. Bougainville casualties who have no known graves are commemorated on a memorial at Suva, Fiji. Sadly, as I was passing through the graves reading the words written on the gravestones, I realized that most of the soldiers who lost their lives during that war were between the ages of 18 and 25. My friend, it was really a moving experience for me. BOMANA War Cemetery is such a beautifully maintained cemetery to visit and pay tribute to those who fought so bravely for our freedom. Big shout out to the people who always keep the cemetery clean and peaceful, making it a special and must visit place while in Port Moresby.